Hello friends, today we are going to discuss the evolution and significance of international relations. As we all know that international relations studies about the relations among the groups, relations among people, relations among the nations, relations among the nation states, and relations among organizations throughout the world. So it can be understood in two different meanings. In a narrower sense, international relations denote the relations between governments or nation states is called as international relations. And in a broader sense, international relations denote the relations in a very wide-ranging manner that includes the relations among cultures, organizations, groups, people, personalities, states and governments, organizations, and so on. So, international relations is a very dynamic subject and it is emerging itself as an academic discipline from the early part of the 20th century. And it is like any other social science subject, history, economics, political science, sociology. It is slowly emerging itself as an academic discipline. Though international relations as such persist from ancient times, the study of international relations started only in 20th century. In fact, the relations between various nations started from time immemorial. That means the relations among the nations, particularly among the kingdoms and among the civilizations, started during ancient times itself. We can see in history the relations between Indus Valley civilization and Egyptian civilization, Sumerian civilization and Akkadian civilization, Aztec civilization and Sumerian civilization. So likewise, we have seen so many interactions and relations between various civilizations and kingdoms in the ancient times. And during the medieval times also, there was trade and commerce between the nations of one continent with the nations of other continent. We can easily see the European merchants used to come to Asia, and Asian commerce was extended to Europe. So this is how there are relations between nations in the Middle Ages also. In the early modern times, we have the geographical discoveries with Vasco da Gama, Columbus, Magellan, inventing or discovering the sea routes to various countries. These relations have got a fillip and these relations are ever growing. So in the 20th century and 21st century, with the revolutions in international information technology, transport systems, and communication revolutions, international relations are becoming much more dynamic and becoming wide-ranging. So the international relations as such are started from ancient times, but the study of international relations started in 20th century. Maybe in the first 2 decades of the 20th century, the study of international relations are started. International relations is emerging as an academic discipline in 20th century, from 20th century onwards. As an academic discipline, international relations is like any other social science subjects like political science, economics, public administration, management, statistics, psychology, history. So international relations is also emerging as an academic discipline. Previously, when this subject has not evolved as an academic discipline, it was part of history and it was part of political science. So after getting itself as a new status of international academic discipline, international relations is slowly emerging as an academic discipline, and almost many universities of the world are now offering the courses at undergraduate level and be a post-graduation level in international relations. We have so many centers of research in Jawaharlal Nehru University, University of Hyderabad, where international relations is taught as a separate discipline by itself. And the nature of the discipline of international relations includes in the last class also we have seen this. The nature of international relations as an academic discipline studies about the international cooperation and international conflict among the nations. Nations of the international arena, as we go by the membership in the United Nations, there are 195 countries in the world. 193 countries are official members and permanent the members which have got regular membership in the United Nations, and 2 members have got the observer status. So totaling 195 countries are there in the world, and even all these 195 countries have cooperation and conflict with various other nations. So we see and we study the international cooperation and conflict among the nations in the study of international relations. And secondly, we also study about the persuasion, the patterns of persuasion, the methods of persuasion in international relations. And thirdly, we also see the modes of coercion applied and employed by the superpowers on the developing nations. We also see this kind of coercive methods in international relations. This is how international relations is a study of the topics related to international cooperation and conflict in international politics, and persuasion and coercion in international politics. So this is all about the nature of international relations. International relations studies about the state actors and non-state actors. In international relations, the states, governments, and nations are the main actors. So each government has its own foreign policy, and these foreign policies are formulated and implemented by various states and governments. So this is how international relations are mostly conducted by state actors. And there are also non-state actors like terrorism and various other factors and other organizations, international organizations, who have not officially as such conduct international relations, but they are active in the international affairs. They are called as the non-state actors. So America, where we can see the Statue of Liberty here, America is the first and foremost country that has more non-state actors. As well, the state in America also acts as a dominant power and a superpower in controlling the international relations throughout the world. So international relations studies about the state actors and non-state actors. And after the First World War, international relations were started as an academic discipline by North American states and Western European countries. In North America, we have Canada, America, Mexico. These are called as North American countries. And in West Europe, we have England, France, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, Germany, Italy, and various other countries. So as an academic discipline, international relations was first started as an academic discipline in various universities and colleges after First World War in North America and West Europe. So this is all about international relations. Between 1900 to 1939, it is the period of its genesis. It's the period of its incubation. So where the idea of international relations is developed, and later international relations has attained its autonomous status and fully becoming autonomous from political science and history. And now it is grown as an autonomous discipline. And there are various developments in international politics that led to the emergence of international relations as a separate discipline, particularly between the developments between 1900 to 1939. Institution of chairs, international relations chairs in various universities, and the formation of departments of international relations by various universities, and the publication of research books, syllabi, curriculum, and other curricular matters on international relations. So these are the developments between 1900 to 1939 that can be called as the genesis of international relations. And after that, In fact, the term international relations was first used by the English philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Jeremy Bentham belongs to 18th century and is called as an utilitarian philosopher. So he has used the word international relations in his book. So the term international relations was first used by Jeremy Bentham. He's an England philosopher. A philosopher belongs to England. So he's the man who used the term international relations. We can see his picture here. The term international relations was first used by English philosopher Jeremy Bentham. Now let us discuss about our lesson plan. First, we'll discuss about international relations, its nature and scope. And after that, we'll be discussing about the development of international relations as an academic discipline. What are the factors that led to the development of international relations as a separate academic discipline? Here we should not get confused between two things. International relations denote the relations among the nations. And as an academic discipline, international relations denote a separate subject in social science which study about international politics, international affairs, and various relations of conflict and cooperation among the nations. So this is an academic discipline. So this distinction we should not forget. So international relations as a subject of an academic discipline is started in the early decades of 20th century. And we'll see how the development of international relations as an academic discipline is started and grown up during 20th century. After that, we'll be discussing about the Kenneth Thompson's classification of 4 stages of its development. How international relations as an academic discipline is developed from 20th century onwards. In fact, Kenneth Thompson has given 4 stages of its development. And on the one hand, he has observed about the international politics and political developments, and correspondingly, what are the theories that have come in the international relations. So he made both theoretical observations and also empirical observations. Based on the empirical observations, he has theorized the theory of international relations, and he has classified the development of international relations into 4 stages. We'll be discussing about Kenneth Thompson's classification of 4 stages of international relations and its development. Of course, Kenneth Thomas' classification of 4 stages of development is further prolonged or widened by other philosophers, and 4 more stages of development are included in the study of international relations. Now we can see there are 8 stages of international relations and its development. They are called 8 stages. The 4 stages are given by Kenneth Thompson's model, its classification. And the later philosophers, later political scientists and researchers have added 4 more stages to the development of international relations. So we'll study, first of all, the Kenneth Thompson's classification of 4 stages of international relations and its development as an academic discipline. And after that, we'll also study about the other 4 stages of development of international relations given by various research scholars, social scientists, and experts in international relations. So after that, we'll be studying about the significance of international relations, or the advantages of having international relations as an academic discipline. We'll be studying about. After that, we'll be making a critical evaluation of the study of international relations. This is the lesson plan. Let us start with the nature of international relations. As we have time and again saying that international relations is a subject matter that is studying about the relations, particularly the cooperative relations and conflict relations among the states. So the first and foremost important aspect of international relations is it's a study of cooperation and conflict in international politics, international affairs, so in international relations. So the first and foremost aspect of the nature of international relations is it studies about the cooperation and conflict in international relations. There are so many political scientists, both in India and abroad, have categorically stated that there are 2 types of relations among the states. One is the cooperative relations, the other one is conflict relations. A political scientist who is expertise in international relations at Hyderabad, Professor Rama Melkote, states that the study of international relations is a wide area and it is confined itself to the relations of cooperation and conflicts among the nations in international politics. And secondly, the study of persuasion and coercion. The study of persuasion and coercion. So these are the two techniques that are employed by superpowers and developing nations. And sometimes this persuasion and coercion are also applied by various countries to get their national interests protected and solve their border problems or other problems. So persuasion refers to diplomacy and diplomatic history, and coercion refers to aggression. Maybe it's external aggression or war. And sometimes this coercion also in the form of economic sanctions. So likewise, the persuasion and coercion are other important aspects of international relations. And we study about this persuasion and coercion in international politics as part of the nature of international relations. And after that, we'll also study about the state actors and non-state actors in international relations. State actors means all the governments, nation states that have their own representative to foreign policies, respective foreign policies with definite objectives, foreign policy objectives, and with the aim of protecting their own respective national interests. All the states act in such a manner that the national interests of each country will be protected and people will be assured of territorial integrity, liberty, justice, and various other important aspects. So states are the basic units of international relations, and the states and governments act as independent sovereign units in the international political system. So this is called as the state actors. And besides states, there are also non-state actors. The non-state actors include, we have various international organizations, and even among the non-state actors, there are positive actors and negative actors. The negative actors have the terrorists, drug mafias. These are called as non-state actors, and likewise the international organizations which are officially formed by various groups and associations. So international relations studies about the state actors and non-state actors. In the scope of international relations is very wide. In fact, international relations by itself is an academic discipline with interdisciplinary nature. It is connected with the history, economics, political science, public administration, management, psychology, statistics, and various other social science subjects, and also some pure science subjects also. International relations as an academic discipline draw its data from various other disciplines, maybe social sciences, physical sciences, and natural sciences. So international relations as an academic discipline enjoys the status of an interdisciplinary character, and it studies, the scope of international relations is very wide, which include, it studies about the state system. The evolution of modern state system goes back to 17th century, where in 1648 there was a Westphalia Treaty among the European states, and after that there was also another treaty that is called Utrecht Treaty in 1713, and one more conference that has brought an agreement, broad agreement among the nations, that's called Vienna Conference. And again in 1919 we have Versailles Treaty. So these four important landmarks of the history makes the state system vibrant and very powerful. The state system has sovereignty as its soul, territorial integrity, diplomacy, and various other characters. So in international relations, we study how the modern state system has evolved. This is called modern sovereign state system, modern national state system. So the evolution of state system with its sovereign power and nationalism, how it has evolved from 17th century backwards to the more today modern era, is a subject matter of international relations. Secondly, we'll also study about the general and diplomatic history of international relations. And thirdly, we'll also study about power, superpower, and elements of national power. Every country tries to acquire power, and this power acquired by each nation is called national power. And national power is enhanced by its various elements: economic elements, strategic elements, military elements, social elements, economic elements, political elements, cultural elements. So all these elements enhance the power of the state, and which invariably become a national power. And national power also is considered to be an important tool in acquiring the status of a superpower if the power enhances itself to challenge the other powers of the world. So presently we have certain superpowers like USA, USSR, or Russia, sorry, USA and Russia, and China is also emerging as a superpower. And some people make India also becoming a superpower. So a superpower is a nation that acquires its national power through various elements and challenge, and it also controls, it influences, it manipulates the international affairs at the global level. That becomes a superpower. So in international relations, we study about the power, superpower, elements of national power. And we also study about international law. All the laws passed by the United Nations, particularly the Security Council, and also the laws and agreements passed by WTO, World Bank, International Monetary Fund. So these laws are also called as international law, and all the nation states are subjected to give their obedience to international law. So we also study about some of the aspects of international law and international organizations. There are various political organizations, social organizations, economic organizations, cultural organizations, scientific and technological organizations throughout the world. And these organizations have access with the same organizations across the countries, and they also have liaison with other organizations of the world also. So the relations among international organizations is also a subject matter of international relations. And in international relations, as an academic discipline, we also study about war and peace. The two major wars of 20th century, the First World War, Second World War. And of course, there is also another war like New Cold War and Cold War. We study these aspects in international relations. And after that, each war ends with a peace agreement. And these peace agreements are also studied as part of the study of international relations. And in international relations, we also study about nationalism, colonialism, and imperialism. Nationalism is the sense of oneness among the people belonging to the same nation, same geographical area, having same cultural identities. It's called as nationalism. And colonialism. Colonialism is a new concept of the modern period. And colonialism indicates some of the dominant powers of Europe in search of economic markets, colonizing certain countries of the world, and establishing their own countries, political systems in various colonies. That's called as colonialism. And the expansion of colonialism for economic purposes is called imperialism. So in international relations, we study about nationalism, colonialism, and imperialism. And we also study foreign policies. Each country has a foreign policy. The legislature of each country is empowered to formulate the national policy, national foreign policy. And that foreign policy indicates the relations among the nations, the native nation with other countries, other nations. The foreign policy also have objectives, foreign policy objectives. And the aims of foreign policy are to protect the national interests. So foreign policy is formulated and implemented by the executive of each country. In India, we have Jawaharlal Nehru is considered as the father of Indian foreign policy, and he's the man who laid the foundation for a strong and vibrant foreign policy in India with his 5 principles of Panchashil that has laid the foundation for Indian foreign policy. And opposition to colonialism, opposition to imperialism, opposition to war, opposition to external aggression, and also support to non-alignment movement. So these are some of the issues of Indian foreign policy. So each country has its own foreign policy that defines the relations with other countries, whether friendly relations or negative relations or neutral relations, are defined by the foreign policy with its own objectives and with the aim of protecting its national interests. So we study about foreign policy also in international relations. And likewise, we also study about national interests. Each country has its own economic interests, political interests, strategic interests, and interests related to arms and ammunition. So these are called as national interests. So national interests are the basis for maintaining relations with other countries. And each country has its own national interests. In the process of protecting its national interests, every country redefines its national policies, foreign policy, time and again. And in international relations, we study about the national interests, their nature, and the dynamic nature of national interests and everything. And after that, we'll also study about arms control, disarmaments, nuclear politics in international relations. So international relations is a very wide subject that includes arms control. Arms are conventional arms and strategic arms. The strategic arms are related to the nuclear arms, and how the disarmaments and the agreements on disarmaments like CTBT, NPT are signed between various powers. And these are the treaties that ensure no use of nuclear weapons or barring the states from conducting nuclear tests either on surface of the earth or in the ocean. So this is how arms controls, disarmaments, and nuclear politics is also one of the important aspects of international relations. It studies about various arms, the changing nature of arms, the conventional arms, strategic arms, and how the arms control treaties are concluded among the nations, and what are the efforts for the disarmaments, particularly after the Second World War, and how the nuclear politics are emerging either to challenge or to persuade nations. So this is all about nuclear politics, and international relations is a matter of subject. As an academic discipline, studies about arms control, disarmaments, and nuclear politics. And lastly, international relations also study about globalization and global concerns. It also studies about the globalization. The process of globalization started in the early 1990s, and it is engulfing itself like a wildfire in every country. So this is how globalization is started, and the trends of globalization are pervaded to all the sectors of the human life, the economic sector, the cultural sector, the political sector. So how globalization is started, what are the effects of globalization, and what are the aftermath of globalization is studied, and also global concerns. Global concerns, what are the pertinent problems of global problems of the earth, like international terrorism, decay in international environmentalism, and other problems. The spread of greenhouse gases, the depletion of ozone layer. So these are some of the melting of ice in the polar regions. So these are some of the global concerns we study in international relations. So now let us see how international relations as an academic discipline has evolved itself. as I've told you in the beginning itself, one international relations expert, Kenneth Thompson, has made a classification in his essay, The Study of International Politics, a survey of trends and developments. He has written this essay in 1952, and he has classified the study of IR, international relations, into four subjects, four stages. So here we see Kenneth Thompson and his The Study of International Politics, a survey of trends and developments. That is the essay that he has written. And in that, he has classified the study of international relations into four main stages. Of course, after that, there are some more stages are added to expand the subject of international relations. Now let us see what are Kenneth Thompson's four stages of the evolution of international relations. The first and foremost stage is the international politics up to the end of First World War is the first stage. So international studies, international relations studies about the international politics up to the end of First World War. How the First World War has happened and what are the reasons for that, and how Germany has become a mightier country, and how Turkey is in the wake of disintegration participated in the First World War, and how Italy wanted its irredentism and how it wanted its glorified past to come again. So these are some of the issues that led to the First World War. And in the first stage, we'll study about the international politics up to the end of First World War. So here, there are historians, international historians like E.H. Carr have stated that there are politics of realism have come, and they have considered these developments as real issues among the nations, and the theory of realism has also emerged during this period. So this is all about the first stage. And in the second stage, international relations, after the end of First World War, there was a Treaty of Versailles. We can see the Versailles Palace here in France, where the countries which are defeated in the First World War were called upon, and the victorious countries have made them to sign on the Versailles Treaty in this Versailles Palace. So a Treaty of Versailles was emerged, and the study of international relations, international politics and affairs after the end of First World War constitute the second stage of international relations. And the third stage of international relations include the interwar period. In the interwar period, we'll see between 1919 to 1931. 1919 is a year where the Treaty of Versailles was conducted, and 1931 was the year where the Second World War is started. So in between, there are so many developments like the Great Economic Depression in 1929, the rise of Nazism and fascism in Germany and Italy, and various other factors. And likewise, there was a revolution in China in 1917. So these developments have made the international relations much more vulnerable, and international relations in interwar period between 1919 to 1939 is the third stage of its evolution. So this is an important stage where some of the nations have experienced autocratic and authoritarian trends like dictatorships in Germany and Italy, and between 1919 and 1939, there was a great economic depression that was experienced and witnessed by almost all the European nations, and it has its own effect on other countries of the other continents also. So in the third stage, we study about interwar period. We'll also study about the developments in the interwar period. And in the fourth stage, as Kenneth Thompson has put it, we'll study about the relations among the nations after the end of Second World War up to 1950s. So This is marked by the emergence of United Nations organizations, UNO, and the signing of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And this period also experienced the starting of Cold War between Soviet Union and America. So this stage is a very important stage where the Great War, the Second World War is ended, and Germany was divided into West Germany and East Germany. And this stage is also experiencing the formation of United Nations. The formation of United Nations with an aim to prevent another war at the world stage. So the formation of United Nations, the establishment of the Security Council as part of United Nations, and the establishment of the Bretton Woods Twins like World Bank and IMF, and again the Soviet Union's efforts to expand its doctrine of communism in Eastern Europe and West Asia, the doctrine of communism and extension of communism in certain areas, and American resistance to the extension of communism. That ultimately led to the emergence of Cold War between Soviet Union and United States. So these are the developments in fourth stage. The fourth stage of the evolution of international relations as an academic discipline. We study about the international politics relating to the end of Second World War, the developments of shortly after the Second World War, like the formation of United Nations, the establishment of the Bretton Woods Prince, like WTO, International Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, International Bank of Reconstruction and Development, that's called World Bank, and also the emergence of Cold War between United Nations and Soviet Union. So these are some of the developments in international politics, and accordingly, there are also certain theoretical propositions in international relations, where we have seen the emergence of idealism as a new theoretical doctrine, which states that international peace is given an idealistic orientation, and international peace as an idea prevailed over the hearts of all the leaders and resulted in the formation of United Nations to prevent the Third World War or any other world war at a world stage. So this is a stage of idealism, the emergence of idealism as a theoretical postulate in international relations. So this is all about the fourth stage. So we'll see these four stages: the first stage, the second stage, the third stage, and fourth stage. The first stage is related to the First World War, up to the end of First World War. And the second stage is related to the end of First World War, after the end of First World War and the signing of Treaty of Versailles between defeated Germany and victorious America, Britain, France, and other countries. So this is the second stage. And the third stage is an interwar period where the Great Economic Depression and also the emergence of dictatorships in Germany and Italy in the form of Nazism and fascism. We see all these developments. And in the fourth stage, we study about the end of Second World War and the emergence of nuclear politics and the establishment of United Nations Organization, the formation of United Nations Organization and Security Council as a part of UNO, and also the emergence of a new Cold War between America and Russia, America and Soviet Union. So these are the developments in international politics. Corresponding to these developments, there is also certain theoretical developments like theoretical postulates that have made idealism as part of international relations. Now let us see. These are the four important stages that Kenneth Thompson has given in his essay. But the study of international relations is a very enlarged subject, and we are now in 2020, So from 1950s to 2020, there are 4 more stages. So other political scientists, other researchers, other experts in international relations, certain philosophers, they have given other stages in international relations. And the 5th stage is related to mid-60s and mid-70s. And it covers the Cold War in détente. The Cold War in détente, the Cold War between America and the Soviet Union in later 50s, early 60s, later 60s, and détente in early 70s. And what are the treaties that are concluded between the Strategic Arms Limitation Talks Treaty, START 1, START 2, concluded between United Nations, United States and Soviet Union. So this is how the Cold War and the end of Cold War is an important development in international politics. And these aspects are also studied in international politics, relations as a subject matter. And the 6th stage in the study of international relations include 1980s, it's new Cold War. This new Cold War has seen the emergence of China as a world power, and China's emergence has also seen a Cold War between United States and China and Soviet Union. On the one hand, China has issues with the United States. On the other hand, China also has issues with Russia and Soviet Union. So this is called as the new Cold War. And particularly 1980s is also significant in the international relations with few developments like Soviet Union's intervention in Afghanistan and American intervention in Argentina and Diego Garcia. So these are another important developments in 6th stage of international relations. So correspondingly, there are also theoretical postulates and theoretical developments. So this indicates the 6th stage of the evolution of international relations. After that, we'll see the 7th stage of international relations with the emergence of new political thinking. So in the new political thinking, certain ideologies were critically examined by people. For example, the international communist ideology, communism, is seriously debated in various countries of the world in general and East European countries in particular. So this has led to a kind of a new thinking among the East European states like Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Albania, Romania, Bulgaria, Soviet Union, and various other countries. So this has indicated the new political thinking. Even in China, this new political thinking has emerged, and the Chinese state has repressed the movement with the Tiananmen Square protests in early 1990s. So this is called as the 7th stage of international relations from 1985 to 1990. This has led to the emergence of new political thinking. And in the 8th stage, or the present stage of international relations, we can see 1990 and after. This is all particularly related to the disintegration of Soviet Union, the crumbling down of international communism in various East European nations, and the emergence of globalization and liberalization, structural adjustment programs in various countries of the world. So they are called as the structural adjustment programs, it's called SAP programs, as a part of the globalization trends, and how international organizations like WTO emerging itself with new ideas like intellectual property rights, labor standards, and other non-trade issues, with trade issues and non-trade issues were universally debated. This has led to globalization. The trends of globalization from 1990s onwards, particularly the later 90s, has seen the series of globalization, the process of globalization engulfing almost all the countries of the world. and each country of the world has opted for structural adjustment program, economic liberalization, privatization, economic reforms. And so these are some of the trends of globalization. So the eighth stage has experienced the disintegration of Soviet Union and the crumbling down of communist regimes in East European countries and the emergence of globalization. So the emergence of globalization and its aftermath and its after effects, the impact of globalization are still seen in the world. And this stage also has experienced the sudden growth of communication systems, that's indicating the communication revolution and IT revolution. And there is also a rapid change in the international transport sector. So all these developments have led to an important political developments at an international level. So the eighth stage has witnessed these developments, and accordingly there are theories on neo-realism, neo-idealism, and various other theories that have come, and postmodern theory, critical theory. And these theories are also have emerged as part of the new thinking, new political thinking. This is particularly rampant in 1990s and 1995 to the present day. So this is how the study of international relations is slowly developing itself into various stages. The first stage, second stage, third stage, and fourth stage were observed by a famous international relations expert, Kenneth Thompson, in his essay. But the latter stages, fifth stage, sixth stage, seventh stage, and eighth stage are developed by various political scientists, experts in international relations, researchers, and others. So this is all about the evolution of political science, evolution of international relations as an academic discipline. Now we'll discuss the significance of international relations. The significance of international relations, there are so many advantages in the study of international relations. The first one is it's a general education to international developments. We can acquaint ourselves with the geographical conditions, the units, the number of countries in the United Nations, various continents, oceans, what are the political conflicts, the border disputes, the disputes related to WTO, disputes related to trade and commerce, and international concerns like international terrorism and environmental issues like depletion of ozone layer, engulfing the greenhouse gases, melting of ice in the polar regions. So these are some of the international issues. So we can know about international developments, the study of international relations. And it also helped to conduct international affairs. In fact, a person who studies about international relations and very well acquainted with the subject matter of international relations can easily act upon in international affairs as an actor, both an official or a non-state actor or a state actor. As a part of state acting or non-state acting, it helps to conduct international affairs. And it also helps understanding human survival and progress and promote international harmony. So this is another important aspect. And after that, it also gives about the knowledge on international problems, problems related to the globe, problems related to international affairs, like international terrorism, environmental problems, the problems of human rights violations in various countries, and international criminal justice system, and how some dictators have taken advantage of butchering the population, like Pol Pot, Idi Amin, and various other dictators. So we can have knowledge about global problems and concerns with the study of international relations. So if we make a critical evaluation of international relations as an academic discipline, it's just an academic discipline, but it is slowly emerging itself as a very important discipline in social sciences. Now, so many universities and colleges are offering various courses on international relations, and it helps the students to know many things about the globe and international politics. And secondly, this subject matter of international relations has a interdisciplinary nature. It is related to history, economics, political science, sociology, anthropology, commerce, management, psychology, statistics, economics, public administration, management, and various other subjects. So it has an interdisciplinary nature. Though it is evolving itself as an autonomous discipline, it still has the character of interdisciplinary nature, and that character attracts more people to study about international relations as an academic discipline. And it is slowly evolving itself, and it is ever growing. It's an ever growing subject with a promising opportunity for the people to have a vocation in international relations. So international relations is slowly emerging as an academic discipline, and it is developing itself in a very visual manner. As Kenneth Thompson has observed, there are 4 stages in the development of international relations, but the later political philosophers, political scientists, researchers, or students of international relations have added 4 more stages. Now we can see the development of international relations as its evolution in 8 stages. So international relations is also an academic discipline with a lot of significance. So friends, this is all about international relations, its evolution and significance. Thank you friends, thank you very much.